This goes beyond just a murder. Beyond everything I believe.
What's going on, everybody? We are back for the finale, episode 7 of Under the Banner of Heaven. This is about 88 minutes total, and it brought to conclusion everything that we have been talking about these past few weeks. What's going on, Lucas?
Dang, nabbit. I couldn't think of the line to say that Dan said right before he slit Brenda's throat. Oh, wait, it's not fine. It's fine.
Oh my God. So yeah, let's go ahead and just dive in deep with this. So we get the understanding that Pyre is basically done, but he's still compromised by the whole Kyra case, to the point that his partner had to literally drag him out into the desert, punch him in the gut, and like, look, I need you to suck this in and focus. What is it that's going on, right? And everything was kind of circling around Dan and Ron. Ron's wife had got away. She got away into Florida. But they didn't know whether or not she was dead or alive, and all the different fingers being pointing in every single direction. But it was still clear that Dan had a lot more influence based on the backdrop stories that they're hearing from incremental different people, to the point that now we know that Dan was the one that killed Brenda, that killed the baby, that provoked Ron into all this, but also wanted to be the one. And Lucas, this is the thing for you knew all this was going to kind of happen, but how, as far as how they set it up, as far as how the show brought it all to this conclusion, how would you take this finale and just the resolution of the Laffertys as a whole?
I wish they would have dug deeper after the murders took place of what was said at the trial fully. And everything that happened with Ron at the trial, because here it's still focused on the point that Ron was just lost and just followed anything Dan said,
right?
When in actuality, according to the actual trial, Ron was the one who pushed for everything humanly possible to happen, including him pushing for Dan to kill Brenda and the baby. Like, that came out in the trial.
Oh wow!
Like, it's weird because Dan, in the trial, Dan claimed that he slit the throats of them too, and I'm guessing that's what they're going after. But actually, Chip, one of the witnesses, testified that it was Ron who did it, and it was not Dan.
Fascinating.
And Ron killed Brenda, and then he thanked Dan for killing the baby. That's what came out during the trial. So I find it, the way they did it here kind of threw me off.
So they changed it to fit the narrative more so than the actual events, you think?
I don't know if they just went by the point that technically Dan said, "Oh, I did it." That's what they went by. That Dan said that he killed them. But again, they had the guy who they actually show in the show, Chip, who said that no, Ron killed Brenda and Dan killed the baby.
Yeah, and it's funny because you didn't actually physically see it either.
Yeah.
Like, they did it all behind closed doors. And I mean, off of those bases, if Chip and the other guy were in the car, how would they even know unless
they talked about
after
it
the fact they said it? Right.
Yeah,
right.
They talked about it when they were in the car. That's how even they knew about, like, even on the show when they said who killed who. It's because they talked about it in the car after they did it.
Yeah. The guy that I think they played the role of Chip, he did some good acting. Oh, was he the one that was interrogated by Pyre? Or was that the other guy that was Chip?
That was Chip.
Okay. Yeah, the guy that played the role of Chip, I think he did some really good acting with that, because he set the tone for a lot of how it all went about. And it's interesting because the fact was that Ron did go to the door with the intent of doing all of these things. And yet she didn't open the door, so he kind of went back to the car, and then Dan was like, "Have you lost your resolve?" And it was just interesting because it was like a fight to be who the one is, down to the line when Ron was trying to kill his brother to make sure he secured his place as being the one. That Dan punched himself in the nose to make sure the blood hit the ground first, to make sure you knew, no, this is all me kind of thing.
I think that is also a part of them fabricating the case a little bit, because unless I read more into the case than just from the book, that necessarily wasn't what Dan was doing. Like it goes a little deeper into the book about this entire case. Like, you know, after they got arrested, the Laffertys held a press conference in real life.
Well, all
And
of
Ron
them,
said,
all the brothers that were out.
Yeah, and Ron said that the revelation about killing Brenda and the baby wasn't for him. It was addressed to someone else.
What? Elaborate.
Yeah.
Who was it addressed to?
It was this drifter that that Ron had become friends with. And he said, no, the revelation was for him to do it. And the revelation only called for removal of Brenda and the baby and did not use the word kill. Clearly, that is not what they said in the show.
Right. That's man.
And then, like, Ron, even during his trial, denied ever receiving a revelation to kill Brenda and the baby.
So wait, so did Ron do it?
Yes.
Okay. So ultimately
he said what he needed to say. So he didn't so he can attempt to not go to jail.
Gotcha.
Like, even knowing how this ended well beforehand is why I was like, okay, let's see how you close this out. I have a few issues with the way they did, but this is a dramatized series though, so it's not going to give you the actual thing, because sometimes you got to paint people a little bit more evil than they were, and I guess Ron is anti-hero, or I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but
but his hands he literally made the list, like, because even the weird thing was the prophet guy. That was the weird thing with me. The guy that was the prophet, I forgot his name, the older guy. He was kind of like, what is this list? And this does not seem right, kind of. And like
the list that Ron made.
Right. Like, Ron made that list. Like, Dan didn't make up that list. Ron did. So it's like, I still look at all this was provoked and orchestrated by Ron. Because even when, like, she could have got away, and like she was looking directly at Ron in the face, and he's the one punching her in the face to put her down. And that was the weird thing. I thought that Ron was the one that killed her. But then they said, Chip said that, Dan left the closing blow, and then he did it to the baby. But really,
that's why it threw me off.
This is what, you know what? I think that might be what it was. Chip said that Dan slit her throat, but Ron put the cord around her neck to make sure, which doesn't make sense. If somebody's bleeding out, why would you put like rope around the neck? Like, you would most likely, that isn't. So to me, it sounded like they were trying to not implicate Ron, but really at the same time they were saying that he left the killing blow supposedly. But yeah, as far as the actors in this one, shout out to Wyatt Russell and Sam Worthington. They played some really interesting roles in this one. Specifically, Wyatt Russell, I think, stood out the most as Dan. Because I didn't know where his character was really going. And again, this is based on real events, but the way that they told the story, it is like, man, this seems so unbelievable. This is crazy. But even down to the actor that plays the role of Bill, the partner with Pyre, like, I was kind of like, Bill, you get more and more aggressive with Pyre here. What are you trying to do? And it's just fascinating, their relationship, and how much they were able to pull out of each other. If you look at episode 1 versus the end episode, these almost look like totally different people coming out of this case. I was curious your perspective on the acting and just the characters.
Well, I think the thing that changed about Pyre and Bill is that Bill got fed up with Pyre attempting to follow religion without fully understanding exactly what his religion was.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end, when he didn't want to believe that, as he said, these two atheists, why would I believe them now? And then Bill goes and tells the story like, you've heard this story before, but you heard it the wrong way. You heard it the way that made your religion seem perfect.
Right.
This is the way I heard it because this is what actually happened. This is what they actually did. They slaughtered and murdered these people in the name of their religion and blamed it on someone else. And why would you put your faith in a religion that would sanction this and then hide it? Because if they didn't hide it, they would be viewed as monsters. So when you get you get them play that off of one another, it looks great on screen. Because this is Bill. I'm trying to think. What's the actor's name that plays Bill? I don't know why I'm forgetting his name so fast. His Gil Brigham.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just shows that at this point, Bill feels that it's necessary to tell Pyre the truth. And then when you get that confrontation with them two, and a look on Andrew's face as he's now almost completely detached from his religion. Because now you get to see the truth. Now you get to see with the wool being lifted from over your eyes exactly the way the world views your religion, and the way it has an impact on Pyre is something that Andrew did a good job of showing. This is a man who struggled. You notice he struggled the entire series. By the end of it, he just finally came to realization of what his religion was.
Yeah.
Which is no better than anyone else's, because at one point in time, I think he held the Mormon religion at a higher regard,
higher standard,
than anyone else. Because of course they didn't do this. They're not Christians or Catholics. Like, we know their past, we know the evils of those religions, but Mormonism, we're not that way. And then you get the veil lifted to realize, no, you're literally the exact same, no different. And that's the breakdown that you get to see him having, including him reading a book that was highly important.
Yeah.
At the midway through this episode,
where
for
he
him
was
to get even a better understanding.
Yeah. But it was interesting though, because Bill he gave Pyre out, because it was almost as though, like, he said to Pyre, like, look, let's go ahead and round this out so you can have what semblance of left of your family. And then when he was kind of quoting or singing, based on his culture, and like Pyre was like, do you believe this? He's like, no, but I still like to hear it. And he kind of was like, it's nothing wrong with, saying this or hearing it, even if you don't believe, kind of thing. And that was almost like a nudge, like, you can kind of still do this and be at peace, even though you know the reality of the situation, which is crazy. But that was his own way of saying that to Pyre, to give Pyre some semblance of peace going back to his family. Because honestly, I don't think that Pyre would have been able to sustainably go back to his family without that understanding of how to handle it. It's just interesting. It's really interesting how the show handled the whole entire thing.
And I mean, in all honesty, the reason why I thought it should be longer when I saw where it was going is that trial and the subsequent stuff that happened afterwards is more interesting than the story that leads to the murders.
So you saying that they're gonna come out another season? That's what you're trying to
say? I don't think they're gonna continue this story at all. But that trial, if for anyone out there who liked this series, loved this series, you need to read up on what happened during that trial. That trial was ridiculous. Not only just the trial, but what happened with these two brothers after that trial. From Ron attempting to commit suicide in jail to them saying because he committed suicide, it damaged his brain and it made him like unable to control anything. He attempted to kill Dan in jail which led for a judge to grant them to be tried separately. While Ron was giving the death sentence, one juror spared Dan, and Dan got life in prison. Ron's conviction got overturned.
What?
Yeah.
Ron's
Ron's conviction got overturned on appeal. And then he went back again. And they convicted him of the same thing all over again. And that's when Ron chose to be executed by firing squad. It's a hell of a story to go afterwards of everything else. But this is a good point to lead up and to give you the conclusion of what the brothers did. And I also did like it didn't really show the impact of what they did on Alan as much as you would have thought it should.
That's what I was going to ask you. That's what I was going
to ask you. Because like they literally murdered his wife and his daughter.
Yeah, so that was the thing I was going to ask you. He didn't know the last time that Pyre was talking to him that Dan and Ron had did it. That was the way I felt about it. And I was curious to see when Pyre got back to him, how he was going to emotionally, I guess, reconcile it. Because the weird thing was, I still don't understand why the first episode he was covered in blood coming from around the back. How did he have all that blood on him? Did he just go into his house and then went around the back thinking he was going to get arrested? Or that doesn't add up to me. But I also do, like, I agree with you. I think that it would have been interesting if Pyre would have went and like, look, I found out that Ron's wife is safe, Dan's wife is safe, but I know who, took your family away from you. I would have liked to see that scene.
Yeah, you wanted to see the scene where he finds out that his brothers did this.
Right.
And what impact that has on him to find out what they did. Right. The series leaves some questions, not enough to ever call it a bad series. Again, I just would have loved to see way more. And I guess it leaves the door open for people to actually look up the case. Yeah. So you could get way more information on this case. Like, Ron died, I want to say 3 years ago. Of natural causes?
Well, he was out? He's out?
No, they never executed him.
What?
Never executed him. Dan spent over 30 years on death row.
Never mind. You know what? Some stuff you don't...
I mean, not Dan, I'm sorry, Ron. Ron spent 13 plus years. Dan is still in jail. But Ron spent 30 plus years on death row. It was never executed.
I don't understand.
So after everything he did, he got to die of natural causes. Like it's a heck of a, because it would dig so deep into, was their religious beliefs the reason why they didn't execute him? Did the church have something to do why they didn't execute him? How do you let someone who committed these heinous acts stay on death row for over 30 years?
All I know is that the way that the show perpetuates how they handle things within the confines of this religion, you would never know, because this is a dramatified version of it, and it's always much deeper than that. So that's crazy. I am curious to see maybe if there's a documentary on this, or maybe FX will produce a documentary.
I think it's already a documentary on the Lafferty brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think it's already, like, this is not a small case. Like, if I'm not mistaken, there's already a documentary on them.
Well, you guys, you heard it here first. Lucas gave the insight on some of the stuff to when you're researching and looking into it. Hope you guys enjoyed our discussion these past 7 episodes. Thank you for sticking tight with us. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell button. I rate this, for me, between A to F. I think this is a A- to A. I really enjoyed this series. I thought the acting was impeccable. Cinematography was great. Great character development. And just it took me by storm how intense it was, even though it was technically only a few murders in this. Every single moment was intense, and I enjoyed it. Lucas, final thoughts, and we'll close up shop.
Again, this is a well acted, limited series, which is kind of what you expected. But for you to take one of the best selling books of the true crime era and do this to it, because even though I talked about things I wish they could have did, they still did the book justice, and that's the most important part, because it's going to now have people go out more to try to discover this story.
Yeah,
I want to say it's on Netflix. But all you gotta do is research Lafferty Brothers documentary. You're gonna find one and check it out to get the real story. That way you can compare it to this and be like, okay, they did a really good job of just showing the anguish of the cops here and showing you the things that they went through. Like, that's highly important. Something that I think a lot of people would love to see, and then make your own judgment up of what do you believe about the case and what you believe about the brothers. Because, I mean, Dan has an interview out there on YouTube for about an hour where he's talking about everything. Like, I think this is one of them things where it just brings you up more information. You can reach out, get more information on these two, and, understand just the sickness of this case. Because then you understand why Pyre is so bothered by this.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of sickness, we got to talk about something else really sick. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and we'll be back next time. All right, guys. Peace.
Filing out the top of
I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't